Welcome to EduCasts, home of EduCasters. Behaviorism in education. If you walk into a classroom and see a sticker chart on the wall, you are looking at behaviorism. If you hear a teacher say, "If we can all be quiet for 5 minutes, we can leave early for lunch," you are hearing behaviorism. If you use a language learning app like Duolingo that gives you a satisfying ding sound and points when you get an answer right, you are experiencing behaviorism. In the world of educational philosophy, behaviorism is often the villain. It gets accused of being cold, robotic, and manipulative. Critics say it treats children like lab rats, training them to perform tricks for treats rather than helping them become critical thinkers. And to be fair, there is some truth to that. But here's the authentic, unpopular truth that many educators hesitate to say out loud. Behaviorism works. It is the unseen operating system of the American school. It is the philosophy that gave us grades, lesson plans, classroom management strategies, and special education. While other philosophies like constructivism or humanism focus on the mysterious, invisible workings of the mind, thoughts, feelings, schemas, behaviorism focuses on the only thing we can actually see: behavior. We are going to take a deep, honest look at this controversial philosophy. We will explore its origins in the laboratories of the early 20th century, unpack the mechanics of how it works. It's more complicated than just carrots and sticks, and analyze why, despite all the hate it gets, it remains the bedrock of modern schooling. A core idea: the black box and the observable world. To understand behaviorism, you have to understand what it was reacting against. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, psychology was a fuzzy, philosophical mess. People were trying to study the conscious mind through introspection, basically asking people, "How does that make you feel?" and writing down the answers. Behaviorists looked at this and said, "This is garbage. This isn't science." They argued that we cannot see inside the human mind. The mind is a black box. We don't know what's happening in there. Maybe you're thinking about math, or maybe you're thinking about lunch. We can't prove it. And if you can't see it, measure it, or weigh it, you shouldn't base a science on it. So they decided to ignore the black box entirely. Instead, they focused on two things. Number one, the input stimulus. What happens in the environment? Example: the teacher asks a question, or a bell rings. Number two, the output, response. What does the organism do? Example: the student raises their hand or packs up their bag. The central belief of behaviorism is that learning is a change in behavior. That's it. It's not a change in understanding, or emotional growth, or expanding your horizons. Those are fuzzy words. For a behaviorist, if a student couldn't do long division yesterday, and they can do it today, they have learned. We don't care how their neurons connected. We care that the behavior changed. And the most radical part? Behaviorists believe that all behavior is learned. We aren't born with personalities or talents. We are born as blank slates, tabula rasa, and our environment shapes us. If you can control the environment, you can build any kind of human being you want. The Founding Fathers. From drooling dogs to pigeons in boxes. Behaviorism wasn't built by teachers. It was built by psychologists in lab coats. To understand the classroom, we have to look at three giants of the field: Pavlov, Watson, and Skinner. Number one, Ivan Pavlov, the accident. It started by accident. Ivan Pavlov was a Russian physiologist studying digestion in dogs. He noticed something weird. The dogs would start drooling before the food arrived. They would drool when they heard the footsteps of the assistant who fed them. Pavlov realized the dogs were learning. They were associating a neutral thing, footsteps, with a biological reward, food. He famously tested this with a bell. Ring bell, give food, dog drools. Repeat this enough times and eventually, ring bell, dog drools, no food necessary. This is classical conditioning. It's the idea that we have involuntary, automatic physical reactions to things. In school, this happens all the time, usually with anxiety. Stimulus, math class. Experience, The student gets yelled at or fails a test. Pain, fear. Result. Now, just walking into the math room makes the student's stomach hurt. They have been conditioned to fear math, just like the dog was conditioned to drool. Number 2. John B. Watson, the radical. If Pavlov provided the spark, John B. Watson built the fire. Watson was an American psychologist who took these ideas and applied them to humans. He was the one who famously declared that psychology should be a purely objective branch of natural science. Watson is famous and infamous for the little Albert experiment. He took a baby, Albert, who wasn't afraid of anything. He showed Albert a white rat. Albert liked the rat. Then, every time Albert touched the rat, Watson banged a loud steel bar with a hammer behind the baby's head. Clang. Naturally, Albert cried. After doing this a few times, Albert was terrified of the rat. In fact, he became afraid of anything white and furry, a rabbit, a dog, even a Santa Claus beard. Watson proved that emotions could be taught, but his biggest claim was about potential. He famously said, "Give me a dozen healthy infants and my own specified world to bring them up in, and I'll guarantee to take any one at random and train him to become any type of specialist I might select: doctor, lawyer, artist, merchant chief, and yes, even beggar man and thief." This is the ultimate behaviorist promise: nurture over nature. Teachers love this part of the philosophy, without the scary baby experiments, because it implies that every student can learn. It doesn't matter where they come from or what their genetics are. If we teach them right, they can succeed. Number 3. B.F. Skinner, the king of the classroom. But the man who truly defined education was B.F. Skinner. Skinner didn't care about drooling dogs' reflexes. He cared about operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is about voluntary behavior. It's about the choices we make. Skinner put rats and pigeons in special boxes, now called Skinner boxes. The box had a lever. If the rat pressed the lever, a food pellet dropped out. At first, the rat just wandered around, but eventually, it bumped the lever. Clink, food. The rat ate. It wandered some more. Bumped the lever. Clink, food. Pretty soon, the rat was hammering that lever like a machine. Skinner discovered the engine of human behavior. The consequences of an action determine if that action will be repeated. 1. If you do something and something good happens, you will do it again. Reinforcement. If you do something and something bad happens, you will stop doing it. Punishment. It sounds incredibly simple, but Skinner mapped it out with mathematical precision. He proved that learning isn't magic. It's a feedback loop. The Mechanics Toolkit. How behaviorism actually works. This is where we get into the authentic language of the American teacher. We don't usually talk about operant conditioning in the staff lounge. We talk about reinforcement. But many people get these terms wrong. Let's clear them up because they are the tools of the trade. Number 1. Reinforcement. Making behavior go up. Reinforcement means anything that makes a behavior more likely to happen again. It comes in 2 flavors, and people always confuse the second one. Positive reinforcement. Adding something good to the situation. Example. A student raises their hand. The teacher smiles and says, "Great answer, Sarah." Sarah feels good. She is now more likely to raise her hand again. Classroom staples, stickers, gold stars, candy, extra recess, praise, Student of the Month awards. Negative reinforcement. Taking away something bad to reward the student. This is not punishment. Think of it like a relief. Example, the teacher says, "If everyone finishes their work quietly, we won't have homework tonight." Analysis. The bad thing. Homework is removed. The students work hard to make the bad thing go away. Their working behavior increases. Another example, a car beeping until you put on your seatbelt. You put on the belt to kill the noise. That is negative reinforcement. Number 2, punishment. Making behavior go down. Punishment means anything that makes a behavior less likely to happen again. Positive punishment. Adding something bad. Example, a student throws a spitball. The teacher gives them detention. The detention is the bad thing added. Ideally, The student stops throwing spitballs. Negative punishment, taking away something good. Example, a student is talking during a lesson. The teacher takes away their recess time or takes away their phone. You are removing a privilege to stop the behavior. Number 3, extinction. What happens if you stop reinforcing? If the rat presses the lever and no food comes out. At first, the rat presses harder and faster. This is called an extinction burst. But eventually, if no food ever comes, the rat gives up. The behavior dies. Classroom example. The class clown makes jokes to get laughs, positive reinforcement from peers. If the teacher can get the class to ignore him, silence, the clown eventually stops. His behavior has faced extinction.